Hey everyone, dive in with us today as we unpack something that's been blowing up online, Temu. Yeah, it seems like it's everywhere, right? Those ads are inescapable. Have you tried it?
And the numbers really back that up. I mean, they hit over 100 million active users just in the US, and that was in just over a year. Globally, they've got more app downloads than even Amazon. Can you believe that? Even eBay, too. That kind of growth that fast is unheard of.
Absolutely insane, right?
Yeah.
So how'd they explode onto the scene like that? What's the secret?
It's their business model. It's really something. They've streamlined their whole supply chain. It cuts costs like crazy. Imagine this. You buy something on Temu, right? But instead of going through a million distributors, retailers, all that, it just ships directly from the vendor in China straight to you.
So they cut out the middleman. That makes sense, but is that enough? I mean, their prices are crazy low.
Well, it's just one piece of the puzzle. Their pricing strategies are, well, aggressive. They really encourage sellers to accept losses, at least at first. The goal is market share, even if it means they aren't making a profit right away.
That's bold. But can that last? What happens when those losses start adding up?
$1 million question right there.
Hmm.
And it leads into some of the controversies around Temu. Because, yeah, rock bottom prices are super tempting. But are there hidden costs? That's what a lot of people are starting to ask.
So let's get into those downsides.
Yeah.
What are some concerns about Temu's model?
Product quality is a big one. Since most stuff comes straight from China, there's a higher chance of, well, inconsistency, manufacturing, quality control,
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of reports of things arriving damaged, not as described, or breaking super fast.
So you might get a steal on some shoes, but then have to replace them in a month. Not really a bargain then, huh? Anything else besides these potential quality problems?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Another thing is how much they rely on gamification. It's how they get people interested and keep them coming back. It's those spin the wheel discounts, daily deals, countdown timers.
Oh yeah, totally. I've fallen for those a bunch of times. That's everywhere online.
Exactly. And sure, they can be fun for shoppers, but it also pushes you to buy without thinking. You can get so caught up in the deal that you don't think, wait, do I even need this?
Like a mind game almost. And this gamification, it ties into their huge social media presence too, right?
Bingo! They are the kings and queens of going viral. They use influencers, those targeted ads, referral programs. It's a constant buzz. They even make sellers undercut AliExpress prices. It adds to that whole unbeatable deals thing. But it all makes you wonder about transparency. Are they exploiting shoppers? Maybe even the vendors themselves.
It's like the whole system could just implode if they aren't super careful. Are there any rules, regulations, anything to protect consumers and vendors from these problems?
That's where it gets really complicated because they're global, right? It's a huge challenge to deal with all the different rules and make sure everything is ethical.
So they're walking a tightrope a little, legally, ethically. We've talked about product quality and the whole marketing thing, but what about data privacy? That's a big deal now, especially for an app that gets so much info from you.
Yeah, no, you're right on the money. Data privacy is huge, and it's been an issue for Temu's parent company, too, PDD Holdings. They own Pinduoduo, right? And that platform has had some pretty serious allegations about data security, user privacy.
Yeah, I think I remember reading about that. Seems like every week it's a new data breach, a company misusing info. What are people saying about Temu specifically?
There have been lawsuits, even government investigations, multiple countries looking into how Temu collects data. Some of it is just how much data they're getting and then what are they doing with it. And then there's the worry about like vulnerabilities. Could there be data breaches, people getting access they shouldn't?
Okay, yeah, that's a little creepy, not gonna lie. Tempting as cheap stuff is, not if it means my info's at risk. Makes you think, what's the trade-off, Are the deals worth it?
That's what more and more people are starting to ask. And it's not just the data either. One of the biggest things hanging over Temu is how they handle labor.
The forced labor allegation.
And of course,
Yeah, with their suppliers, right? That's hard to ignore.
it is serious and so complicated to unravel. There have been reports connecting Temu to factories in China, and the practices are, well, questionable, potentially even forced labor. The U.S. Congress is actually investigating these claims, so there's definitely pressure for Temu to be more transparent about where their stuff comes from.
So even if they fix the data stuff, the consumer protection stuff, there's this ethical hurdle they got to clear. Makes you wonder, can a company built on being so cheap ever really be ethical, fair to workers?
It's a dilemma, for sure. It's like, we got to face some hard truths about our own shopping habits. If we want crazy low prices, are we okay with maybe turning a blind eye to some things? Or should companies like Temu be responsible for being ethical, even if it means higher prices?
Tough stuff to think about. And hey, it's not just Temu in this game, right? There's Shein too, another fast fashion giant. And I hear it's getting kind of heated between them. What's going on with that?
It's interesting you mentioned Shane, because they're a lot like Temu in how they got big. Trendy stuff, dirt cheap, super fast. But that race to the bottom has caused some friction, let's call it.
Friction, might be putting it mildly. Lawsuits, corporate espionage, even like intimidation tactics. What's the deal?
Oh, it's messy for sure. Both companies, they want their piece of the market, and they've been known to bend the rules to get ahead. Temu has actually said that Shane uses its size to pressure influencers, make them sign exclusive deals, which basically shuts out smaller companies like Temu.
So it's like a chess match, high stakes, each one trying to outmaneuver the other.
Exactly, and the stakes are getting higher and higher. Recently, Temu actually sued Shane, said they're violating U.S. antitrust laws, that they're using their power to just squash competition.
Whoa, an antitrust lawsuit. This isn't just about who has the cheapest clothes anymore, huh?
Not at all. Temu versus Shane, it's like a mini version of what's happening in the whole global fashion industry. This pressure to be fast, to be cheap, often means ethical stuff, worker rights. That gets pushed aside.
Too much of a good thing. We love the low prices, the styles, but something's got to give, right?
That's the question, isn't it? Can Temu or anyone in this business find a way to have it all? Affordable, fast, and ethical? Or is the whole model just broken?
Yeah, it does feel like something has to give.
Ah,
It's a tough one. But let's look ahead a little. We've talked about how fast they've grown, the controversies, the competition, all that. So what's next for Temu? What's the future look like?
well, it's always a gamble trying to predict the future, right? But we can think about some possibilities. Let's say best case scenario. Temu addresses these concerns, the quality control, ethical sourcing, more transparency about their data, the whole 9 yards. If they do that, they could really dominate e-commerce.
From too good to be true to actually a good deal, huh? That'd be quite the story.
Oh, absolutely. And they've got the backing. PD Holdings is no joke. They've got money. They know it's trendy. But, and this is a big but, there's always the chance that all these controversies, they catch up to them. More regulations, shoppers getting fed up with the labor stuff, or even just people wanting to shop more ethically, sustainably. Any of that could really change things for them.
It's like they're on a time limit almost. Got to make some big moves and fast to really secure their spot.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And there are other things happening, too, outside of Temu that could change their whole plan. Like the Biden administration, they've talked about closing this loophole. It lets companies like Temu import stuff under $800 without paying import taxes. If that happens, their prices, their whole strategy, it all goes out the window.
Wow, that would be huge. Sounds like Temu's at a crossroads. Stick with what they're doing and maybe it all blows up. Or they adapt, change, become a more, ethical company.
And we can't forget about us, the shoppers. We have power, too, right? What we decide to do, that's what determines if companies like Temu succeed or not. Do we just want the absolute lowest price, even if it means maybe some bad stuff is happening? Or do we want companies to be transparent, accountable, all that?
Gives you a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Every time you click buy, it's like you're saying what your values are.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Temu, we'll leave you with this. What's a bargain really cost? And are we okay with paying that price? Thanks for exploring all this with us, the world of fast fashion, global business, the ethical side of shopping online. Until next time, keep asking the tough questions, stay curious.